Thank you. Have a website. So thank you all for coming. I think the people we haven't seen for a while, Thema has just become a life member. Congratulations. Thank you. Len and I and Guy are life members, and Sheikh has been a life member for many, many years, which is a wonderful thing. Because then I never have to harass them again to renew their membership. So that's good for me too. As I started to say, our president couldn't be here today. She had a medical thing that she could not put off. So I'm going to introduce Sheikh very briefly because what he has to say about himself will do a much better job of introducing him than I could possibly do. Sheikh and I have known each other for a long time, even before the Interfaith Center. I am his elder. I'm older by exactly a month. He's having his birthday tomorrow.
She is my big sister.
I'm your big sister.
Exactly. For 75 years.
Yeah, well, could say so. And you're from Egypt, and I've been to Egypt twice, and it's this stunningly wonderful, exciting country. One of my favorite places in the world. I think possibly the most beautiful place in the world, although this is a number of years ago, was a swan. A swan.
Yes, I took my wife there and my 6-year-old son,
Yeah.
who I think might join us. So this Dorta's here. This is my wife.
One of your boys is there, yeah.
Almar. Yeah, that's Almar.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this is Almar.
Yeah.
He went to Egypt when he was 6 months old.
Wow.
And we took the night cruise.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. And then 2 years later, we took the two boys. I don't know if Kareem is joining in or not. And we had another wonderful trip.
Yeah. Well, a swan is a magical spot, I think. I'll close this door if a lot of people want to be coming by. So thank you again for coming, and Guy is going to do land acknowledgement, and then we'll get going. So thank you.
For 10,000 years or more, indigenous people occupied this land, and they had a culture. They lived on the land. They used the buffalo for food and for housing and for clothing, and they depend on rabbit and deer and other critters of the field and the plants for berries. They survived very well here for a long time until the settlers came. The settlers came here at the request of the Dominion of Canada, who was giving away land. They came here and they really just pushed the indigenous people off the land. They killed the buffalo. They brought diseases to the indigenous population and caused havoc generally. And the indigenous people were suffering a lot, and they requested that the government of Dominion of Canada at that time, give them a contract, an agreement of some sort that would provide them food because they were starving, provide them medicine because they were dying, and provide some farming equipment and education, and they say medicine, yes, and what else? I'm not sure. Money so that they could trade with the settlers, and that was all encapsulated in a document called Treaty 6. And Treaty 6 is what I'd like to talk about just a little bit more today. And Treaty 6 outlined those items. Now, the indigenous people didn't know about the concept of private ownership. They just roamed the land and enjoyed the land and each other and respected each other and so on. But they ceded all of Canada, well, this part of the world anyway, this part of Canada, to the Dominion of Canada through the Governor General at the time. And they signed the contract to cede all this land to the government. And in exchange, they got the things that I mentioned, medicine and education and farm equipment and some reserve land for their exclusive use. And the government did not honor its commitment very well, and we're still working on trying to honor that commitment. And it's an ongoing thing. And the government's been reminded through the Truth and Reconciliation Committee of its obligation, and they're still behind. And then they started the residential schools to try and provide that education, but the education came with abuse. And we heard a little bit just on the weekend, we were up at Luke Will's at an event talking about colonialism. And one of the persons who was testifying there said she was a member, she was a residential school survivor, and she remembers as a little girl being in her bed in this very highly controlled environment, people coming and taking some of the other girls that were in the beds and bringing them back a little while later. So they were subject to all kinds of abuse and trauma, and it's still with them today. So I just want to remember that, and without that treaty, I would feel a little bit guilty about owning and living in the land. Even with that treaty, I still am, because it was really somewhat of a criminal act at that time. So, but legally, we're okay to be here, and we still have the responsibility of providing something for the Indigenous people so that they can survive and get over the trauma that the settler communities cave in. So that's it. I want to remember the Treaty 6. And all of us are what we call Treaty 6 partners. So it's our obligation. And those that are motivated try and provoke the government into taking their responsibility more seriously and providing what the Indigenous people need.
Thank you, guys. Shake, take it away, please.
Just before I start, just notice there is the name Magid on the screen.
Magid, yeah.
This is my cousin, Dr. Magid Hamza, is joining in from Virginia.
Wonderful.
And then there's the name Bob. This is Bob Erdo,
Oh, I
the
know.
Turkish society guy.
I know, God.
And he said he's going to join in. He cannot participate because his computer does not get him the mic or the camera. He's just listening.
Oh, okay, yeah, get it, fair enough.
So welcome
Yeah.
to all. My name is Shaykh Sheik. And just following up on what Guy has said, yesterday I was driving home and I heard an interview with an indigenous person who was incarcerated for 50 years as a result of a murder charge that he didn't know anything about. Him and 3 other young people. Hence, the land issue is something, but the human issue is another issue. And that's what we are all talking about today. The title of this presentation is In Search of God. And then I'm reflecting on my personal experience, my personal journey so far. And the reason we got into that is the word God has been floating around in so generic sense that you don't know what it means anymore. And everybody is saying, by God, or oh my God. Even they went into, oh my gosh, the big guy upstairs is just sickening to try to understand what are those people meaning by mentioning the word God. And then you have an directive from some religious people say, don't mention the name of God in vain. And that's why they are not using any particular names. But on this, I'll go into my personal experience with this. When I was born, I was named Zachariah. And as the tradition in Egypt, it goes son, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and family. So I was Zachariah Abdul Hamid Farad bin Sheikh. And I lived with that for some time. When I was 6 years old, there was a war, the Suez Canal War. As a 6-year-old child, try to understand what does it mean, three countries, Israel, France, and England, attacking Egypt. Why? Because they want the Suez Canal. Why? You can understand that it was a French idea. You can exclaim that the English has lent so much money to the ruler of Egypt to the point that Egypt went bankrupt. But you don't understand what does Israel has to do with the Suez Canal. And at the time, Nasser was in charge. And you really don't know what happened. But we, or Egypt, maintained control of the Suez Canal. And the other countries backed off. I would imagine that's because of the interference of the United States and Russia at the time, because this was gonna get bigger. But I was only 6 years old. When I was just about to graduate from high school, is that Nasser on our screen?
What's up?
Yes.
Please mute yourself.
We're doing it here.
This is a friend of mine, Nasser Al-Fayoumi, is joining in from Calgary.
In his car, he's in his car.
That's
Maybe not,
fine,
maybe
still
not.
in Calgary, unless he was driving us on.
Thank you, Becca.
Yes.
Okay, focus on.
Sorry for the interruption.
So in 1967, another war. I was just about to graduate from high school. And the confusion around that war was so big, but what I understood was that Israel is fighting all the Arab world. For what? I don't know. I went in the university. In 69, I went to Europe. Ended up staying the whole summer in Austria, and that was unplanned because my target was Germany. But then again, whatever. In Austria in 69, I realized that all what I heard in Egypt was a lie. We did not win in 67 and in 56. We did not win in 67, which was named the 6-Day War. And it was just chaotic. So as a result, I went back to Egypt in the third year university with the notion that all what I hear and read in Egypt is lies. So I stopped reading. I stopped listening to the news. I stopped listening to people. And even the textbooks of the university, I could not read it. I would go into a lecture, hear what the professor has to say, and if the question come in the exam from this lecture, I will relate what I heard. And I passed. But the year after, so happened that I went back to Europe and I spent the whole summer in Finland. Finland was a different experience. And just to give you a sense of how that was different for me, I was the only dark-skinned youth that ever went there in the northern part of Finland, in a town called Kokkola, which I thought it's the Coca-Cola factory. This is a story that you can write a book about it by itself. So young kids will stop me in the curb and touch my face just to see if it is real. So of course, that was magnificent. And at the end of the visit, I was invited to a uh, foreigners club meeting party because they were changing their English instructor. And in the meeting, I was asked to introduce myself. It's a couple of Turkish guys. Everything went well till the end of the meeting. Then the organizer came and said, "You guys are barbarian." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You hijacked 3 planes yesterday." And yes, and he went on and on and on and on. And I just said, "Just told you, I came here to learn about Finland and the Finnish people. How far did you go?" I said, "Oh, well, I went to Germany." I said, "I came from Egypt just to know what Finland is all about. I could have gone to the embassy and read the pamphlets and thought I know it. So how come you accuse me of something that I haven't even heard about?" I said, "I'm sorry, I just heard about this and the whole thing." The next day, I found 2 reporters come from Helsinki, wanted to see my perspective about, wow, the Egyptian guy or the Egyptian boy in Kokki. 2 articles were written, one in Scandinavian and one in Finnish, about a boy from Cairo in Kokki. Nothing about the incident, because when they asked about the hijacking, I told them to scrap all what they have and start again, talk about the Middle East. They said, "We'll do it some other time." That other time never came. Went back to Egypt with the perspective of, no, I need to leave Egypt. And in Finland, I have met a couple of Canadian women, older women, in that actual meeting. And as a result, I had my eyes set on Canada. At the time, there was Canada, the States, Argentina, Australia, and Chile were accepting immigrants. But they had my eyes set on Canada. I went to the Canadian embassy, applied, got my landing. And then I figured, why don't I just finish my degree? It's 1 more year. And now I know that I can go. I finished my degree. And here comes the issue. Conscription. I had to enlist in the army because there was at the time the war of attrition between Egypt and Israel after Israel has gotten Sinai. Of course, I was beside myself because I did not trust the leadership in Egypt to fight under their command. Took me a while, 7 years, fighting this issue. In the meantime, I got the job, a high-paying job. I got my life going, but the conscription issue was very standing on my way. So what to do? You go under the table. I bought my certificate of being free from conscription. Cost me minimum. I was go between these people that did that and 3 other of my friends. They got the same certificate fraudulently. I went to the Canadian embassy and made my paperwork and left Egypt when on the September 11th, my 29th birthday. I put myself on a plane heading to London, England, New York, Detroit, Toronto,
Mhm.
Edmonton. In each of these cities, I stayed a while, visited with some friends, and visited and just took my time to come to Edmonton. When I came to Edmonton, it was 230 people population. After going through all these cities, I said, wow, this is a town I would like to settle in. And I have been there since. Now you go back to the issue, dealing with people. My first job interview, which I did, was an employment counsel. Sat with her for a while, asking to evaluate my degrees, to learn more English, to do this and that. She had an offer for a job from a Lebanese guy who I understood just he wants to bring his brother, which meant that there's no way I can get this job. So I told her, do you have any other thing that I can look into? Her response was very straightforward. You speak English better than most. You go fend for yourself.
Mhm.
Thank you. I got up, went to the wanted board across her office, picked a job, a number, until nearby, called the guy, met him in half an hour. He wanted a maintenance man. I was a handyman at the time. I could do anything, so I got the job. From there on, I just kept going. To make a long story short, my life was successful in what I am aiming to. But don't ever forget that I left Egypt because the lying I was exposed to. And I always claim that Egypt had a very low ceiling for knowledge for me to stay there. I needed to know more. In 81, I applied for my parents' job. With them came my younger brother, who was 17 years old. He was in medical school in Cairo. Came here and asked me what do you expect me to do. Said just register for your immigration and go finish your education. He said I lost 1 year because I can't go back. He went, applied for Faculty of Science in the University of Alberta. The woman that evaluated his file is Dr. Sheik.
Oh,
She's been my wife or my partner for the past 41 years.
oh, that is cool.
Life goes on. When I don't know, but I should go through a little bit more on this. So because once you find that, you just find out how uh, life takes charge of you. You don't take charge of you. At the time, Dorta just checked the file, and that was the end. We never saw each other again until put an ad in the paper in Personals, and the Personals saying, I need a smart woman, and everything else is negotiable. I got 8 letters, called 5 women, met with 3. Dorta was the last one. Once we met, we realized we met before. And then once I knew her maiden name, I realized that her father works with me, has been for quite a number of years. So now we know each other well enough to keep going. But here's the catch. If you want to have a relationship, temporary relationship to satisfy your needs, I am all for it. But if you want to have a permanent relationship that can last and bring family, you will have to convert into Islam because I'm a Muslim, but like no other Muslim. She never questioned that because her aim was more squish. Later on in life, she went to Egypt. She went to the Azhar, announced her to go for Islam, got the certificate, got everything, came back to Egypt. So that fulfilled the issue of having a family. But what about Islam? I found out that actually I don't know much about Islam. I am going with the flow. I did everything I was asked to do, thinking that that was the right thing. My mother passed away in 92 in the States. I went for her burial, went to Egypt afterwards for her 40-day reception. But I went to the cemetery where my sister was buried and took the Quran 10 consecutive days. I read the whole Quran at age 42, and that was the first time to read the Quran. But I felt the presence of all those who were buried, all the loved ones that was in the cemetery. And in Egypt, every family has its own cemetery, the fenced cemetery. So that was my first encounter with actual digging into what does Muslim mean, Islam. From there on, I read the Quran over and over and over and over again. My father passed away in 2012 here in Edmonton. I wrapped him in the Quran. What I mean by that he had a stroke a few days before actually 2 weeks before he passed away. I asked him because we could not communicate anymore. His stroke got his throat. So I asked him if he wants me to read the Quran as a visit, and he said yes. Over 2 weeks, I read 11 chapters. The Quran are 11 parts. The Quran is 30 parts. When I was told that he passed away, sat with him overnight, read the Quran. By morning, when I put the call to the mosque to come and pick him up, I have read 25 books. After we buried him, I stayed in the cemetery and finished reading the Quran for 30 days. So this way, I just sent him well from my understanding and his understanding. But I was hooked. From there on, I don't comply with the 5 times praying, with this, with that. I just use the Quran into reading my prayers. And I had a room in the house. And I have pledged to read the Quran for 1,000 times. So I don't have to pick her up. And I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And guess what? I just finished number 676. And I'm turning 76 tomorrow. So the coincidence that you hear about or you go through are not coincidences. So who is my God now? Allah. As I dug into the word, I found that it is a name. You cannot translate it. Now I'm a professional interpreter. Have been for over 25 years. So dancing between Arabic and English has been a fascinating trip. Translating for the IRB, the Refugee Board of Canada, and for the courts has put me into a different story. Every time I attend to a hearing or a court attendance, using the two language to express what the people mean to each other. I'm operating as an understanding machine to make people understand what they're saying. This is a very peculiar position. And I'll bring you to my very recent experience. I'm called in to a court that actually I didn't know it exists. It's a made up courthouse in a shopping center. And it is, the sign says, very small sign, says Queen's Bench Court. I walked in with a court reporter and she said, this sign should be changed. There's no such a thing as the Queen's Bench anymore. It's King's Bench. So, did you catch the court system in a lie? I walked in. It's a 5-day trial. 2 interpreters, one for the witnesses and one for the accused. The judge assesses our credentials, whether we could do that or not, and decides that the accused does not need an interpreter because he knows English well enough, and the guy's going to be on the backup. The witnesses need 100% interpretation, so I should be there, but he should come later. I had a commitment, so I could not commit for the 5 days. So she said, you come in tomorrow at 2. Of course, I have no idea about the particulars. But as I sit in, the witnesses come. Where are you from? Palestine. And there are 2 witnesses. And the judge gives his directives that an interpreter cannot speak in the first person. It's always, you have to speak as if the guy is speaking. So I think it is in the first person. So the lawyer keeps saying, you tell him this, you tell him that. And I just got to the point where I say, no, I don't tell him anything. You tell him what you want, and I translate. So things are corrected. And I've noticed that the lawyer does not want to look at him, address him, or anything. And from my attendance on the refugee board, I always hear the board member says, if I'm not looking at you, it doesn't mean that it's disrespect. It means that I'm just having too many screens that I'm looking at and I'm taking notice, but I am listening to what you have to say. But this lawyer was very adamant at not looking, not addressing the guy. And I was kind of shaken. And the testimony ended. And then the lawyers start to talk, and they send the jury away. And the lawyer started to talk, and he's just looking down and it's talking. And then the judge is telling me that the lawyer is apologizing to me. And then I realized he does not want to look at me, not because of the eyes meet, no, because he is a Zionist. In Edmonton, that first, no acknowledgement of Palestinians, and me as well, no matter where. He uses some Arabic words where the crown stands up as the witness. What does haram mean? It was just out of this room. And then I look at what's happening in the world. And I find, wow, if you heard the news yesterday, Israel has bombed Qatar. Israel has been in war with Hamas. And as a result, she is kicking all the Palestinians out of their homeland. It's been bombing Syria, Iran, this and this and this and that. And I try to make sense of anything I don't. So what do? I go back to the Quran and read a story that is very common and well known in the Bible, in the Quran, and I would assume it is in the Torah and all the Jewish literatures. The story is about the two sons of Adam, that one killed another for no other reason than envy. In all the literatures are named Abel and Cain. In the Quran, it is generic. There is no names attached to this story. And that makes it an ongoing story that the humans kill each other for no reason whatsoever. So that puts the Quran ahead because it is relevant up to now. And then I read the Quran over and over and over and over again. I find that the only story in the Quran that is complete from start to finish is the story of Joseph, where the 10 brothers tried to kill their younger ninth brother, although they are all half brothers, for no apparent reason except that his father loves him more. So these are brothers in one family. And then the story goes on and on and on till that brother that was targeted goes on top to run the treasury in Egypt. And from there on, he calls upon all Jacob's son or Bani Israel or the children of Israel to come to Egypt. And they establish the 12 tribes all the way until Moses comes. And Moses comes with two things: a message for Pharaoh. You are not a god. And a prophecy for the children of Israel. I'll take you out of Egypt. And that's being fulfilled. And from there on, all this area there, sacred area, and from there on, the story goes and goes and goes and goes. But what is missing now, where is Ishmael in the Bible and the Torah? Versus where is Ishmael in the Quran? This is the crux of the issue. So when you say Semitic, it's not just the Jewish people. It is the Arabs as well. The word Semitic came from Sam, the son of Noah, that went back to the area and established this whole Semitic nation, which Abraham has come up from. And Abraham was married to two women, one from his folks and one from Egypt. From Egypt, he has Ishmael. And him and Ishmael are documented here to put together the cube, the Kaaba, which is in the Arabian Peninsula, that the Muslims go to do pilgrimage at, where the Isaac and Jacob line brings in all the Jewish tradition. And guess what? The Jews are not called Jews in the Quran. They are called Yahud. And Moses have referred to them as those who were guided by Allah. And the name Allah has been used in Egypt with the Christians, with the Jews, with everybody that speaks Arabic, and probably Persian, and probably everywhere else. It's a name. But the word Ilah is God. So again, it's envy between siblings. And is there Errol there that joined us? Anybody named Errol Chapman? No. Okay. Eric Chapman, that's another angle. That's very interesting, I think. Eric Chapman is just a guy in his 40s or so. I met in the hot tub in a rec center a couple of days ago. And we were chatting. The tub was small. And all of a sudden he says that right now I'm in the middle of things. I'm searching for God. I'm looking for God. So I just started to read the Bible lately. I told him, join us. And he sent me a message just before. He said he had a therapy session that he has to attend, but he might attend half or so. I told him, don't worry about it. I'll send you the link. See it later. But that's where people are so confused about who is their God, how they connect with him. And I can see it is 1:51. I probably have to come to a close here. So I would say Allah is like, I mean, in the Bible, it says at the beginning there was light. In the Quran says Allah is the light of heavens and earth. And if you just keep going back and forth, you will find the link that it's all very true, except that there is a lot that was added on in the scriptures that came through the Bible and the Torah, where all the add-ons in the Quran came in a different hadith, story series, whatever. Nothing this is still as pristine as you can maintain a document. So I would suggest for anybody who wants to know who is his God or her God, to read the Quran. I have brought a whole bunch of Qurans and a whole bunch of Bibles. I'm going to leave them behind. And this I inherited from the Baptist chaplain at the University of Alberta when they were going back to the States. I'm going to leave it here for the church as well.
Okay.
And I don't know, do we have time for questions? Did I talk too much?
We have all.
Guy, did I talk too much?
You talk just fine.
Okay, thanks.
I believe we have all the time in the world. I'm not going anywhere. If anyone has to, you will. But I'm not going anywhere, so we'll open it up. I'm gonna open the door again just because it gets stuffy in here, and I'm hoping they'll be quiet. I'm going to continue recording or not.
She's still recording, yes.
Got a question?
How about you mentioned God and Allah. How about the name Yahweh? Mean anything to you?
It is in Arabic. Oh, that's one thing I really, when I went to Europe, I said my name was Zakaria. I changed it to Sheikh recently here because of obvious reasons. But in Europe, I find people calling me Zacharias, Zacharias, the way then every country and the language pronounce it in a different way. So that's why I went back to Egypt with the name Zach as a result of the confusion. So Yahuwah or Yahweh is Yahoo or He in Arabic, which is a reference to Allah. Elohim is Allahumma, in which people in the Arab world use to pray to Allah when they want to ask something. Jehovah, it's the same thing, Yahuwah. So all these names are the same name. And as I said, Allah is all to Him. Everything belongs to Him. This is the two syllables in the word Allah, all to Him. And I'm adding the word belongs to make sense.
But also in Hebrew, Yahweh is Yud, Vav, Hey, Vav. Sorry, I've got my letters mixed up. Anyway, no Jew would ever use the word Yahweh.
It's a tetragrammaton. It's
Yeah,
it's
Yud, Hey, Vav.
Then just speak up, please. So
Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Sorry.
yeah, it's a tetragrammaton. It's considered a little, isn't it? Like too sacred to say.
Well, yes, it's never said. It's never spoken.
okay, I think that the word that you use, what do you use for your prayers?
You.
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 Right? You. Yeah, that's who. It's just the same thing.
I understand. It's a song to singing to God.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. But when you say God, you all agree this is generic.
No.
Okay, please
Well,
explain.
I don't think we have the same concept for God. I have a degree in religious studies, and over 50 years ago, the best course I took was called the concept of deity, because it's so variable. We all have our own God, is what I'd say.
And that is where the crux of the issue is. It's not we all have our own God, we all have the same God.
Yes, on a profoundly spiritual level, yes. But try to get people to see that.
There's also little g God, which is describing any kind of deity, and then there's big G God that is describing one specific one.
But there's only one.
Try to explain that to
there's only one God.
Try to explain that to younger generations that are just doing everything now in a small.
What happens if you're discussing mythology where it's deities that were worshipped in the past and you need to describe them?
You use gods with well,
That's little g.
Yeah, little g, but I mean, I don't, but.
Sheikh, I wanted to ask, for the Bible, like I prefer the King James Version because there was a very rigorous process used to move from from the original languages to that translation. They actually broke it into groups of scholars and would translate a passage and then come together again to agree on what they felt the best translation was. So moving from the Quran in Arabic to say English, I get the impression there's no sort of control or overall organization that would put their stamp of approval on any particular translation of the Quran. Yeah, any thoughts on that?
There is no such a thing as a stamp of approval. It is your journey. You find your God whichever way you feel comfortable. Yeah, like, I mean, when I joined the Interfaith Center, for me, that was my extended family. I walked in a place where they say, "You're welcome. We are all here for you." And since the 80s, the early 80s, when this was established, that was my extended family. And that's where I felt comfortable. Okay.
Just wanted to say that there is nothing like your God and my God. It's just only the creator is one entity, that it just has different names in different cultures and different ethnic groups and all over the world, but it's just only one creator. And you know, we went to the degree to, I heard some people here say, he, why you say he? He should be she, you know, which is completely strange, you know, he neither a man or a woman.
No, it's
It's
just a
just entity
genderless.
that we don't know it.
It's a genderless reference.
Singular they,
Pardon me?
singular they in English?
Singular they.
Yeah,
Mhm.
singular they.
Oh, God, just say God.
Singular day. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Singular day. Okay.
God.
I got what you mean.
Because
But
in the
just on
Quran,
this note,
Yes.
in this note, okay, there is 99 deities or entities.
names for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attributes
Titles.
Yeah,
that you can call him by.
Attributes.
yeah.
And it's very simple. Call him anything unless you mean, as long as you mean well. It is very embedded here. Call him anything as long as you mean well. So it is your conscience.
That's one of the reasons not to curse with God's name.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
I'm sorry, please.
Okay, let's mention 2 points. First of all, my understanding is that God is an incomprehensible essence. How can we comprehend our creator? But we know there is God.
Mhm.
We know that all the messengers came one after one successively to teach humanity in different stage of human evolution. So even Moses, when wanted to see God, God, show me yourself. Rabbi Arini, he said, "Lao lan tarani."
Yes.
Said, God told him, you can never see me. But this God cannot be seen, cannot, we cannot talk to him. It's not a physical thing, it is an incomprehensible essence. And the name, in every tradition, we are giving different name. It doesn't matter. We all know that there is one God, one creator, created all of us.
The most important thing is how you are thinking about it.
That's true. This is one point I want to mention. And the second point is about, you mentioned about the two wives of Abraham. Also, in the Old Testament, said that he had another wife, third wife, and her name was Keturah. And then from Keturah, he also had children that they also migrated to Elam, where Iran is now, those areas. And that's, I actually belong to Baha'i faith, but it says that even the prophet founder of Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah, comes from the third wife, Keturah. So means Abraham, as I said, he was the father of all messengers. So from him, all the messengers came. God sent them. God blessed Abraham. Say, I will bless you, and there would be always prophets coming from his descendants, from his lineage.
Again, in here, it says you don't know about all the prophets. and the messengers, we send a messenger to every nation.
Yes.
So we don't have to know everything. It's just a matter of how to relate to, like, very simply, I put it, when we talk right now, we're talking on a horizontal level. But when you read the scriptures, you're talking on a vertical level. This is how you connect. That's what prayer is.
You know, Ali says that the first Imam of the Shia, Ali says that the ways to God are as many ways as the people are. So every one of us, we can connect to our God who created it. And reading holy scriptures, all of them, really, when we read, get into heart, we feel that God is seeing us, is watching us, and knowing everything to us. And then the thing for us is just to try to bring into reality and action what has been given to us in the Holy Scriptures to make unity among our nations. The purpose in Holy Quran, Muhammad said, إن بشر أمة واحدة كل بشر أمة واحدة. Whole humanity is one nation. So see what we have done. We have to work together and really make sure that we are all one humanity. We're all created by one God. God loves all of us. So we have to really love each other with our heart.
It's just what you said.
Amen.
Here it's stated, وما خلقناكم وما بعثناكم إلا كنفس واحدة. Not it's just you are one soul. No, it's no story. It's just a matter of how it is said. Because there are a number of but nafs, it's just we all the same soul.
So yeah.
Actually, a funny thing from the science perspective of humanity kind of being one nation. We studied this in anthropology class. Apparently, genetically speaking, humans are incredibly closely related. Like you look at some of the other grade A families and they look more like a star when it comes to genetic similarity. Humanity is a ball.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The science say go 50 generation back. We're all cousins. You know, we're lost in a generation.
Apparently, at one point, there were only 500 humans total in the entire world, which is
Just look at the DNA map and you'll see that that's all the same. Candy, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, and that is the fact that there are two levels that we can articulate our sense, our awareness of the person of the creator at the personal level and at the level we are talking about you call generic. Because even the word God is a transliteration from Germanic word, "ot," E-O-T-T. Okay? Because that was used, because the Greek divinities do not, their characters do not align with the characters of the way he has been described in the Semitic religions, Christianity, Islam, and the rest of it. So they could not use that word. So they just transliterated the word God, the Germanic word, God, which is we use, generically. And also, if we look at other southern continents, people of southern continents, you see that their concept of God, comes from their experience. Talks about the experience that we are talking about, the way they have experienced God, the way they, and it's not limited. It's just it comes out of their sense of awareness and experience of transcendence to articulate it.
So what you're saying is the word Gothic is relating to God?
No, I'm not
God.
God.
Yeah.
G-O-T-T.
God. Okay.
Yeah. It's a Germanic word actually.
Yeah, but that's how it started. It's just the wording, the language that we use.
Yes.
It's just kind of
It's
squeezes on, and it just goes in and out, and we are in a sea of language that we have to go with my mind and understand what does that mean, and what this person says and what this person says. Rebecca, please.
If you go back in the romantic family tree, French, Italian, Spanish, etc., all of those, if you go back far enough, are references to Zeus specifically.
Yeah.
Zeus.
Yeah.
Well, not Jews.
No,
Zeus.
the Greek. Yeah,
Yes,
I know.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave you with a thought that actually kind of formulated while I was laying in the hospital for the duration of my near-death experience. Watching people working while my mind was sharp and my body was still agitated, it just made me study people, basically who cares and who doesn't, and who's just putting the hours, who doesn't want to be there. That was a fascinating observation. But as a result of all this, I got to understand that every and each one of us actually possesses two entities. The physical, that the machine that we are operating, and the operator of this machine, the soul, the spirit, whatever is. Again, in the Quran, Allah says when He created Adam, He blew into him from His soul. So for Adam to come alive from clay or mud into a living human being, there is Allah's soul in it. And then when the reference is Jesus was created the same way, Jesus, what made him operational around is the soul of God that got into him. But this soul has been passed on to us from one generation to another, to another, to another. So now every and each one of us has this physical entity, spiritual entity. From inception, they grow up together, where the physical needs nutrition, air, water, shelter, needs all this to grow. The spiritual needs knowledge and good deeds to grow. But they go like this, and the physical at one point start to go down. We all kind of fade out. Where I think the spiritual keeps going. And that's where the death point comes as a separation, where the body goes into recycling and the soul goes into beyond limbo, beyond the barrier, the barzakh. But what we actually lose is communication. But life is a continuum, death is temporary. Because we are told that we are going to come back into life, resurrected into a physical form again. Please.
And on that note, could I stop the recording?
Please.
So I was talking of English, I'm not from Latin, the Greco-Roman
Got, yeah.